Guys, Miss Neat here. So I know that this week you are going to be working on an assignment where you have to do fractions on a number line. So what I wanted to do today was spend a little bit of time making a connection between what you already know about fractions in a model and fractions on a number line. So we're going to work today with some examples to show you how easy it is to transfer what you know about fractions within a model to fractions on a number line. Knows that if I have a rectangle and I want to divide it into fractional pieces, that I just make sure the pieces are equal. So I take this whole, if I wanted to divide it in half, I draw one line and now I have two equal halves. If I wanted to make fourths, I can divide each of those in half again, and now I have fourths. But what we don't realize is that connecting this to a number line is just as easy as what I did. All you have to think about is that this end of my shape could be one part of my fraction line, and this could represent another. So in between here, going from 0 to 1, I'm going to have a number of fractions on my number line. The same lines that I drew become the dash marks on my number line. I've drawn my model and my number line. Now I can label the fractional parts. So if I look at this model, I have 4 equal pieces, which means each of these represent 1/4 of my model. Well, that same mark there would represent 1/4 on my number line. But here's where it changes a little bit. On a number line, I have to look at how many of my equal fractional pieces get to that dash mark. So if coming across here, I see, there's 1/4. Then when I get to this dash mark, I have to count 1 2/4. So this represents 2/4 on my number line. When I get to this line, I'm going to count 1 2 3 parts that get me there. So this would be 3/4. And another way to represent the number 1 is to count 1 2 3 4/4, because 4/4 represents the whole model and has a value of 1. Say I gave you this model. I guarantee you that each of you could tell me that there are 3 equal pieces, so that this rectangle is divided into thirds. But could you show it on a number line? So let's say I took my number line and I drew it up above my model. I started at 0 and I went to 1 on the other end of my number line. I know each of these pieces has a value of 1/3. So now when I label my number line, I'm going to come across to this line. I see, there's 1/3. When I come to this line, I'm going to count 1 2 pieces that get me to that line. So there's 2/3. When I come across all the way to the whole, I'm going to count 1 2 3 3/3. So again, my model can help me identify my value on my number line. One more time. So if I look at this model, I can see that my model is divided into 1 2 3 4 5 equal pieces, making my denominator a 5 and making each of these pieces have a value of 1/5. So I'm going to label my model. Now I want to think about my number line. So I draw my number line above my model. I start at my 0, go to my 1, which is my whole. Okay, make my tick marks on my number line to match my model. Now, what if my tick marks were there first? Then I would draw my model below it. And I would label my model and then transfer it up onto my number line. So again, 1 mark, 1 piece, 1/5. The next mark is going to be 2 pieces. so it's 2/5. I'm going to keep labeling right across 3, 4, and when I get to my whole, I should have 5/5, the entire model. This last one, we're going to flip it. We're going to start with our number line, and we're going to use our model to label it. So if this goes from 0 to 1, I'm going to draw my model right below it to take up the same amount of space. I'm going to look at my tick marks on my number line, and I'm going to draw my equal parts in my model at the same point. And now I'm going to label those equal parts. So there's 1, 2, 3. My denominator has to be a 3. So each of these pieces has a value of 1/3. And now I can use that to label my number line. So one piece would be 1/3. 2 pieces would be 2/3, and 3/3 would represent my whole. So you guys can see this isn't too hard. If you can find fractions in a model, you can find fractions on a number line. You just have to make the connection between what you see in a model and where those tick marks are on your number line. So good luck this week. If you need help, email me, let me know. I'm always here to help you guys, and I'll see you soon.